Welcome to another episode of Get Your Balls Out with a smaller squad this week. But as we always say, it's the most important people that are here. And I haven't missed one yet, so that says it all, really, right? But anyway, this week we're going to have a good review of the UCL fixtures, which I think was just some of the best football I've seen in a long time on one side, maybe not on the other side. And then a bit of a Prem review as well. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Wes to give us a bit of a chat about Villa.
Yeah, well, Villa was a very interesting game. I mean, it was an exciting Champions League week. One as exciting as I can remember, really. Even the games that weren't involving the English team. So, obviously, Villa away. I think a lot of people thought that what happened would happen. And it did. I don't think they expected to score first, but Emery, the quiet smile there when they did score. But to be perfectly honest, PSG were absolutely outstanding. The pace running through that team, the finishing ability throughout it, the bench they had. They may play in a Farmers League, but they haven't got a Farmers squad. The goals from the Georgian guy, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try, and the young kid Dewey. And then I think what possibly might have killed the tie is the 94th minute goal, just taking it to 3-1. I think 2-1, you're always in the game, especially with the second leg at home. But, you know, they weren't very expensive. I think they wanted to try and come away with perhaps just a 1-goal loss. At times it was 11 behind the ball. They had 6 at the back, 4 midfielders. And the quality of goals and the dribbling that they've got with very, very speedy wingers made PSG a threat all the way through. So I think it's going to be tough for them at Villa Park if that sort of team turns up, but you never know with the atmosphere being at home. An early goal for Villa might make them a bit nervous, but I mean PSG ran all over Liverpool, didn't they? Really in 2 legs, so
that's the problem. Yeah,
I don't expect a massive shock.
No,
we'll go on to a massive shock in a second, but I don't expect a massive shock in the return leg. PSG have won their league. They can rest their players. Their league helps them out with extra rest. So everything's going in their favour. I think they'll go through. And to be honest, probably the favourites for the entire team and entire thing with who they've beaten and who they'd have to play.
Yeah, potentially. No, I'd agree. I think it was a shame. I think obviously Villa have had a good season, but they just, like you said, Liverpool struggled against PSG, right? And the first leg, we should have lost for like 10 goals, to be honest, right? So it's no surprise that they did kind of steamroll them, I think. And, you know, to be fair to them, at least they got a goal. So at least, you know, they haven't just walked away with nothing. But I think, as you say, it's going to be difficult to turn that around. And Asensio seems to have dipped in form after his 2 penalty misses at the weekend. I mean, come on. Come on, mate.
Against Southampton.
Against
Southampton.
Who really have nothing to play for apart from pride, which at this point of the season is not going to get you anywhere, right? Really. So that was quite shocking because, you know, since he's come in, him and Rashford have both been on scintillating form. So maybe it's in a bit of a dip now in the squad, maybe, you know, for whatever reason, who knows? But yeah, it was a shame, but yeah, it wasn't the most important match, obviously. So we'll see what happens next week, isn't it? Yeah, see what happens. And no, tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? No, it's tomorrow night, isn't it? It's tomorrow. What am I saying?
Yeah. It's the game on Amazon tomorrow. Yeah,
tomorrow Amazon. That's it. Well, good old Prime.
I think they've just burnt out a bit, haven't they? I think they've run their course. I think it's if they get an early goal, I think they could possibly get back into it, but they've got to be on the front foot. And the trouble they've got, like you said, was PSG's attack. They're going to just leave gaps in behind, and it's going to be very difficult for them to shut them out, I think, throughout the whole game. So yeah, I think they probably run their course, but it's a shame. But we'll see if they get an early goal tomorrow. You never know. Know.
Yeah, they're still got the FA Cup. There's not they haven't got a chance of a trophy still, right? If it doesn't go their way, so they shouldn't just give up all hope. Definitely give it a go. But yeah, that's Aston Villa. So I don't think it'll be, if that happens, it won't be the worst end of their season, really, right? I think they're
solid season.
Champions League. It's been solid for them. Obviously, Emery doing the business. So yeah, a team to watch. But anyway, let's move on to the most important Champions League fixture. On to Brandon. Go on then. Give us it all. Give us your take. Everything.
It was. I think I called 2-0 at the Emirates when we did our pod last week, and
You did.
I don't think any Arsenal fan in their wildest dreams could have thought of coming away with a 3-0 win that
Mm.
evening. But it's one of those games, right? I think everything just went for us on the night. Real Madrid were really off it. And
Yeah.
Mbappe had a couple of chances but fluffed his lines. And other than that, I think Arsenal had them under wraps and had them under control. I don't think they really bothered us at
No,
all,
not at all. No.
and we were just clinical, which is something you can't have said about Arsenal throughout the whole of the season. Being clinical has not been our thing, but Declan Rice with two absolute worldies, thinking on the front foot, making some decisions for themselves on the pitch, which every football fan has got to love to see that, right? Players taking responsibility and actually doing something of their own accord. I love that, and I loved his confidence, and the way he hit that second one was just so pure and so true. It was
Yeah.
You could tell his confidence at that point was just absolutely skyrocketing. But it was a wonderful night. But it's half time. It's one night. They've got to go and back it up on Wednesday. And I'm torn now between whether like Saliba, I think, came out in a press conference yesterday and said they're not going to sit back and defend. They're going to go for it. And part of me thinks they've got to do that, because if they
Yeah.
just sit back and just invite that pressure on
Yeah.
all game, I think they will get broken down. I think they've got to take the game to Real Madrid again, even at the
Yep.
Bernabeu, and just see if they can nick another goal away from home. But yeah, exciting times. I mean, you would hope we'll get through with a 3-0 lead, but it's Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, so
It's Real Madrid.
I'm not counting my chickens. But a wonderful night at the Emirates, wonderful night as an Arsenal fan. And I think, apart from those that hate Arsenal and love to hate on them, I think everyone must have enjoyed that game.
Oh,
It was special.
it was, mate. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, if I didn't support Liverpool, Arsenal was my second team. Just that's the way it is. But I know we both said it. I went with you as well beyond last week's podcast and said that I think Arsenal will do something, and I think just because, from my perspective, I think people sometimes get sort of mesmerized by Real Madrid, but when you break it down, they don't always play football in terms of that kind of real team play, right? They don't put up. It's kind of get it out to Vinicius, get out to Rodrigo or whoever else playing the wing. Maybe Bellingham at times, but he was just average, to be honest. He was just trying to run around, tackle people, right? He didn't do anything like amazing to kind of be, wearing that shirt. And Mbappe, like you said, yeah, had a couple of moments we did a bit of skill, but it's all on his own, right? It's not that kind of team thing. But you look at the goals, like Saka with the two of free kicks, right? The assist for those, for that. And you think, he's back from injury. But obviously, yeah, just such a class talent. I think it was, and I'm glad kind of Real Madrid got put in their place a little bit, because they think, oh, they've won it a ridiculous amount of times and no one can take them on. But, Arsenal have, shown them that they've got to be wary, because I think if Arsenal, I think I start to agree with you, but if they sit back, it's not the right game plan. I think if they get another goal, maybe start to sit back a little bit, but I wouldn't say in the first half you've got to go for it, right? You've got to punish them. Like don't let it slip, right? Just punish them. Because I was kind of thinking, in the last one last year against Dortmund, do you remember? Like the first 45 minutes, Dortmund were just on Real Madrid, constantly harassing. They couldn't get anything, and they missed all their chances though. Then Real Madrid managed to kind of just sneak a goal in from nowhere, and because Dortmund hadn't converted, it kind of went away from. Now, fortunately, Arsenal have the lead, which is brilliant. But I think just punish them, right? Kill the game off. Don't start playing defensive ball. That's not Arsenal, right? That's not what your game plan is, and that's what needs to happen, because otherwise Real Madrid could do something. So
I think Arsenal will. The game that was last week was sort of how, if Arteta could have written it, that's how he would have written it. You don't have a striker.
yeah,
You took advantage of set pieces, whether a free kick or a corner. There was just set piece coach again, far too far out of the technical area. What does he do? Sit down, right? Sit down. You did not take the free kick. You wanted him to cross it. Actually, get back in your box. That wasn't you.
players.
Anyway, so set pieces, take advantage of them. Obviously, no one was expecting Rice to hit two absolute pearlers. The third one was a great finish from Marino, great play. But I think Arsenal, they'll want to repeat that game, essentially.
Yeah.
Get set pieces, get fouled, get corners, don't get caught on the break, play sensible football, and take advantage of those set pieces. Real Madrid are going to be thinking, we don't want to foul them. We don't want to foul them. Anywhere 30 yards in, we don't want to foul them because we've been burnt, and, clearly they got it wrong, but Arsenal got it so right. I don't think clinical probably isn't, but they took their chances. They took their chances that they got, considering they don't have a striker. They played very, very well. Odegaard seems to come out of his shell slightly more when Saka's there because he does get less attention.
Yeah.
Arsenal just need to play that same game. If they play that same game again and Kiyor prays to whichever god he worships and he has a performance like he did again, they'll be good. And they rested people at the weekend as well, which is obviously going to help them.
Yeah.
Madrid have been erratic in the league. They're still behind Barcelona, so they've got pressure on them. And the Madrid fans can turn. They can get angry. If their team's not performing, they can get annoyed.
Yeah.
So the longer it is, keeping, nil at half time, I think Arsenal are going to be
a good place.
Rubbing their hands because those Madristas will get irritated and you'll hear it. So the pressure is all on Real Madrid.
100%.
Arsenal just need the same game again.
I think go out with the same game plan, try to attack them. I think they might have to change the mentality. If Madrid get the first goal, then they might have to change tack a little bit, but don't go out there defensively minded because I think you'll just invite too much trouble and you're asked for trouble, especially at the Bernabeu. But 3 special mentions for me for that game last week. I thought Saka for his first start was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. He had Alaba on toast all evening.
It was a pleasure to watch.
And just like seeing him go full pelt, you seeing a winger attack fullbacks and get to the byline. Yeah. The two that he put across the face of the goal, you're just crying out for somebody just to be there and tap it in. And I think Marino played a really good game. I think second half he came alive. I thought he was really, really good. And Kiwior, I mean, I was worried about Kiwior before at the start of the game. I was desperately worried about him getting turned inside out, but Saliba, I think, kept him close to him. He kept backing him up, and his confidence just grew as the game went on. So, long may it continue. Let's see if we can get it done on Wednesday. And I will. We'll see. We'll see.
No, definitely. I think another good thing as well is that obviously Camavinga got suspended from this game as well, right? Which I think is a plus. Not that any of them were firing, but he, can be a very, in that composition holding, it can be very good, right? He's been very good. For Madrid, so that's also a plus on your side. I'm not sure who they've got to replace him in there. Trying to think of the squad that they've got, but he's obviously the first pick. So
probably Tchouaméni. Well, Camavinga was playing right back, so
yes,
they're stretched as it is. They've got a lot of injuries, so you're going to have someone who's unfamiliar. They're probably not going to change their shape, but again, that's another plus that Arsenal need to attack.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. I just want Arsenal to do it just because I think, and getting kind of, if I put my neutral hat on, I think for everything that's happened to Arsenal this season, they deserve something as well from the season. In terms of all the work that's gone into it, like we said last week, how they've grinded out wins and stuff, even though the injuries. Like, don't worry, Wes, don't worry. You'll have your time one time in the future when Chelsea sort their lives out. But
we've got 2 European Cups. We don't need another one, do we?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's fine, mate. You don't have to go.
Don't entice him and don't goad him, Tobes. He's always going to have that 2 Champions Leagues, 2 Champions Leagues.
Indeed.
Oh, and 1 Europa League.
And 1 Europa League.
Yeah. 1 Europa. Yeah, don't forget that's the most important one.
We're going to complete the set this year.
No. He's away now. Next topic.
Right. Well, we are going to move on then. So, everyone's supporting Arsenal, which we all know. Thanks, Wes. Right, let's move on to the Prem then. So, Wes, we're going to have to talk about it. Chelsea Ipswich.
Well,
what can you say, really? To be honest.
I mean, I've seen a lot of the sort of backlash, and I was watching it, and I didn't think we started off too badly. I just thought I've now got to a point where I'm thinking, okay, I know these players are good because they pull out performances. You go across that team, apart from Sanchez is diabolical. We should just keep Jorgensen in. I don't care if he flaps about. I just don't want Sanchez in there. Cucurella is an outstanding left back. I think any team in the league would have Cucurella. He's a fantastic player. Colwell again. He's a good player. I don't know why I'm playing Chalobah at right back, but
mate, that's
we got some good players. Neto's a good player. Madueke actually, for the whole game. I don't know why we took him off, but he was excellent. We got some good players, and now I'm thinking, right, you go through the players and you think, they're good. Palmer obviously was on fire. He struggled. He was really trying really hard.
Yeah,
but it's got to come down to how you're playing. So I didn't think I would, but I think I really am on the it's the way a manager wants to play. We've heard all these rumours about making play from the back and
Mm.
the freedom and creativity. And I think when you spend all this money on these creative wingers and then you tell them what to do and what not to do and all this sorts of stuff, then it just decreases their value and their ability to impact big games. So I'm losing. I've massively lost faith in Maresca and how he's playing the team. We we did well to get 2-2, to be honest. How we were 2-0 down at half time, just people not doing the basics. If Steve was on with us, he'd be going mad, not tracking your runners, not looking behind you.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we had lots of chances in the first half, but we weren't particularly amazing, incredible. I was thinking, right, we've got a chance here to play the worst team or the second to worst team in the league that are going down. Let's be 3-0 up at half time, and then we can sort of chill people, take them off if you want, all that sort of stuff. Get 3 points, get 1 point behind Forest, who are being dragged back into the whole mix.
Yeah.
And instead, we just managed to get a point. Sancho, that was a pretty worldly goal. That was an excellent strike. Cucurella, and then, what is Cucurella doing there to put pressure on a defender? He's a left back. Why is he in the middle of the box? Why is he doing what Jackson should have been doing or someone else? So I don't get the style of play. They're good players, I think. You never should have got rid of Tuchel, but that's another podcast. So yeah, it was embarrassing the first half. Basic, no passion.
Yeah.
We picked it up. They must have got a rocket, I can only imagine, for the second half. Managed to drag away with the point, but Ipswich have got 4 points off us this year. But beat us
They won, didn't they? Yeah, that's right.
beat us at Portman Road, and we've got a point. I mean, it's just we've now got these incredibly difficult last 6 games or whatever it is, and that was our chance to at least just stick ourselves up there.
Yeah.
Perfectly frank and honest, we don't deserve Champions League. We've not been good enough. I know we are where we are, but it's been a weird season. We don't deserve it. Winning the Conference League, I think we can probably do that with our B team. And that's probably what's going to end up. I'd imagine we'd probably finish Europa League places. We don't deserve Champions League. I don't think we'll get it. And I know they said, we've got this plan, and if we did Champions League this year, it'll be a year ahead and all this rubbish. The problem is I don't know who you'd get. If I say Maresca out, then you go, well, who's going to come in? I don't want a Pep disciple. I want someone very, very different. If I could have my say, I would dump however much money Diego Simeone wants, and that's where I'd go, because that's Argentina FC basically, and we've got some Argentinians, we've got some South Americans. Passion, grit, determination, wind people up, angry, still good football. That's what I'd do, but
Yeah.
that's very unlikely, I think.
No, I agree. I think it's like you said that, those managers seems to be less. They seem like at some point there's quite a sort of plethora of managers that seems to all kind of been snapped out now taken, right? And there's not really anyone that's looking. But it's strange, isn't it? Because I guess at the start of the season, whereas I know we said before that, you start off really well, though. Just the attacking football was incredible. And it's sort of like, where did that go, really? That's the puzzling for me. Like, the players haven't changed. So, yeah, like you say, is it what the manager decided that they're now going to play out this way? Which I would find very bizarre if you're got a great attacking threat and things are going well. Why change it? What's
I think.
Well, we picked up when Jackson come back in, because then obviously we've got a threat behind, so that means Palmer gets a bit more space. He nearly scored a couple of times. The goalie pulled off a couple of saves, but you can talk about this and that and here and there. I think it was good at the beginning of the season, but then you get injuries, but you can't blame them. Expect injuries; they're going to happen. But the whole inverted fullback and this and that, and he does know his best 11. He changes them all the time. How can you have continuity? How can you build relationships? How can you have a spine? All these sort of, as Steve, basics of football. Best football teams have a spine that remains the same. You might have peripherals, but the quality never drops. Here, we've got different wingers every week, and just makes no sense to me. And then getting players to do things that they're not. Why are they coming inside to be defensive midfielders, and then it just get back to basics?
I think Chelsea's fast start caught a lot of teams in the league
Mm.
unawares, but I think,
Yeah,
if in fairness, I think it probably caught Chelsea themselves unawares of
yeah.
what they were maybe capable of. And
True. Yeah.
Cole Palmer was absolutely flying. Those first
Oh
kind of
yeah.
10, 12 weeks of the season, he was absolutely phenomenal. You literally couldn't stop him, but. I think it caught everybody unawares, and then I think Maresca's just basically reverted to type a little bit, and like you said, stop that free flowing football, stop the players expressing themselves, and when you've got the players that you've got available to you, that's exactly what you want them to go out there to do. Go out and express yourselves. Go out and win football matches. Bit of flair, bit of skill, bit of cockiness, whatever it is. And you said about Cucurella pressing in the box like for the goal, and it's like, well. I bet that wasn't Maresca's instructions. I bet that was Cucurella thinking of his own accord. So
Yeah.
is
Get
he
a
going to
goal.
get lambasted by the boss because of that?
Kept on
Because
the bench.
he's
Yeah.
gone against the grain. You know what I mean? But it's like
Mm.
let players express themselves, man. Honestly,
That's the
it's
thing. That's the thing.
We got enough wingers to have chalk in their boots. That's a very old school saying. But well, how do you break down these defenders that put in low blocks? When you're trying to break them down. Well, you got to make the pitch as wide as possible, right? So you got to make them defend the line, spread the gaps so you can play through balls, and you got to hit them on the break. And it's just not what he's playing. Neto's incredibly quick.
Yeah.
So's Jackson is incredibly quick, and Madueke. When we played, I think we annihilated Spurs earlier this season. Just like it's shredding people because they're nowhere near them. They're so quick breaking out, and you're making a pitch wide, which is impossible to defend. It just baffles me. But I
Yeah.
suppose again, this is what pressure does. But pressure's different in different situations.
Yeah, and I think just one final point from me and where Chelsea. Apart from Cucurella, when you look at that back line that started, Chalobah, can't say it's there. There's Tosin, Leroy,
Person, yeah,
Cole. Like, where's the
Cole,
experience? I mean, Tosin. I mean, he's not a world class. You've got all this money up from kind of attacking midfield up, but nothing seems to really. And on defense, or even this goalkeeper. I know obviously Sanchez has some mares obviously in this part of the season. You just think maybe he did look at kind of having some experience in there to kind of just
yeah, absolutely.
confidence,
So
right? And that's the big
I
problem.
couldn't agree with you more, Toby. I mean, Tosin was a free. I mean, we
Okay.
are much better when
Yeah.
Fafana's in. We have to manage Reece James, which is, it just is true. If we want to get the best out of him, we want to have him available for the games we want him in. Have to manage his minutes because of how he is. I like Gusto. I don't know. He must have played Chalobah for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it was aerial threat or whatever it might be. They probably didn't expect the lap not to play
Mm.
with the rib injury. But no, I'd like experience all the way through. As I've said before, I'd love to sign Allison because you're getting the Georgian goalkeeper. I'd love to have an experienced
Yeah.
goalkeeper, at least an experienced centre back.
Yeah.
You can't really call Enzo experienced. Caicedo's grown into his own, but I'd quite like to have some senior pros. Just quickly going like what Tuchel did with getting in Henderson. He holds a standard. It's not like necessarily he's going to start, but he's going to hold all the other players accountable. And it just doesn't seem there's any accountability
Yeah.
because we've got the youngest average team age in the Premier League. There's no Terrys, there's no Lampards, there's no Drogbas, there's no Czechs, there's no older pros pulling everyone up and
leaving is a
saying,
big one as
"Let's
well,
get
isn't it?
on with it." It's a huge thing. Like, I think that's why you look at Liverpool. What have they got? They've got that spine. They've got Alisson,
Yeah.
Van Dijk. They've got Salah's older, and they've got McAllister who's experienced, Gravenberch who's experienced. They've got that line down the middle of strength. Arsenal have got more than Chelsea have got.
Yeah.
They've got Rice who's pro, and Gabriel and Saliba. Could say Raya, but they've got some experienced players in there, and just you have to have that blend. You can't just dump. That's the classic saying, isn't it? You can't win anything with kids, and then Man United won with. But those players were exceptional. They were world class talents that just happened to come through at the same time.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. You need to have a balance, and we haven't got it.
Yeah. I think that is it. There's no balance there. So I don't think obviously throwing more money is going to solve it necessarily, right? But that seems to be Chelsea's way with a lot of the transfer, just throw money at it. But I guess you're going to need to bring in some, I guess, world quality defenders. I guess you're going to need to do that, unfortunately, again.
Well,
But
they're talking about strikers, aren't they? But I mean,
yeah,
I'd
that's not the
spend the
problem,
money
is
on
it?
the manager. To be
It's
honest, I think we've got
fundamentals, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the fundamentals of football. You've got attacking players coming out of your ears. It's ridiculous. I mean, you've got enough attacking players to field three teams, I would imagine. But like I said, start with the manager. If you were to get someone like, I think Diego Simeone is primed for the Premier League. He'd be an amazing Premier League manager. I really do think that he's got all of the ingredients and he's got those fundamentals that he wants to stick by. But he also can get his players to play good football. So he would be amazing. But Maresca just seems to have got it all a bit the wrong way around at the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Got himself twisted.
yeah.
Well, on at least you're not as bad as the next team though, Wes, right? So, Brandon, over to you.
Is
Wolves v
anybody
Spurs. Give us your take on Ange and his very small following.
relegation form? I think.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think someone said on Talksport earlier that mathematically they could still be relegated, and I think that's. I mean, look,
That's shocking, isn't it?
what can you say? I don't want to say too much because I think Ange might send a sniper out to get me, but
He's watching our pod, yeah.
he's turning on his own fans. So what
Yeah.
he'll do to an Arsenal fan is anybody's guess. Their head's gone. I think, isn't it? The whole team is just a head's gone from the manager all the way through the team. Vicario. Goodness me. Wow.
Tragedy.
I
Yeah.
mean,
makes
seriously.
Sanchez look good.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. I mean, they've just absolutely had a shocker of a season. I don't really know what else you can say about it. And that game was a prime example of it. It's just another one in a long list of terrible, unacceptable performances from the Spurs team this year. They're floundering and they've got to find something. I mean, they could seriously be in danger of nearing that bottom three if they're not careful. So, a lot of things to consider. Is Ange going to be there by the end of the season? I don't know whether it would make sense to get rid of him now, but some people are saying he should go now and get somebody else into the end of the season. But it's a very dicey thing to do. But
Yeah.
he doesn't help himself. And the one thing I was going to say last week is he just doesn't. With the way he is in press conferences, the way he is with the media, the way he is with his own fans, he just doesn't help himself at all. It's a real strange situation there at Spurs, and I almost feel a little bit sorry for them, but not quite.
Nah, you're being too nice there. You're being too nice. But I think no, you're right, mate. It's crazy. I think the Spurs podcast, last one on Spurs, he was on Sky this morning talking to the reporters, and he was saying that the board has completely lost their mind, aka Daniel leaving, because in any other case, a manager at this point would have been sacked, right? When you look back, he sacked, what was it? Was it Poch and Mourinho? He said, but just
No,
like
he sacked Mourinho before the League Cup final.
literally before, right? And it's like, and now just they're like just masquerading, like I always won a trophy my second year, and when you look at, I mean, Ange Postecoglou, like he's not come from any real sophisticated leagues. Do you know what I mean? The closest he got to Premier League was a Scottish league, right? And it's like that's not a marker to say you can make it in the Prem at all, right? You've done the Asian Cup, all that kind of stuff, but you just think at some point, when do you kind of just back down, be a bit humble, realize it's not working, and actually change the way you're playing? Now, I don't care because Spurs can get relegated for okay, but it's just a very strange kind of setup there. Whatever the reason he's still there, I don't think any other club would tolerate it.
He'd be gone. He'd be gone. I think deep down, I think he's a good coach, right?
Yeah.
I think Premier League is just beyond his level, and I think he's been found out in the league this year. And I think it is a step too far for him. It's not the Scottish Premier League. It's not the Scottish league. Where else was he before that? Was he over in?
He was in Japan and Australia.
It's just like it's a
in the
whole
Asian
different
Champions League.
It's a whole different ball game. But if you can't get the results, but then you haven't got the charisma and the charm to be good with the press around you, you're on a hide into nothing. You really are.
I mean, he's box office. I would say that. It's always entertaining. Like, what's he going to say now? And he was talking about. We didn't actually play too badly. It was just individual errors that cost us. I mean, talk about Captain Obvious. Right, exactly, well done. Yeah. That's what happens in football. People make mistakes and goals are scored.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's never... And are they all out to get me or you back him into all these different things that he says? I mean, it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
But I just think sometimes in football nowadays, the accountability is just not there, is it? I mean, it's that I'm not talking about chewing your players out in front of the press and everything, but I go back to different manager styles like Arsene Wenger. He never saw it. Whatever, it could have been right in front of him. He never saw it. Mourinho would always deflect away from things. He'd deflect.
Mm.
He'd protect his team. He'd take
Yeah.
the flack. He'd take the heat,
Yeah.
but he'd deflect it away. Ferguson generally blame the officials or put pressure over a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And because he was such a momentous character, it worked. Fergie time, it all happened, right? Pressure at Old Trafford. Whereas you've got these coaches now, it's just going, oh, they're just making stuff. There's no protection of their players. There's no saying we made some, responsibility. Madison, didn't want to come out and talk after the Chelsea game and all this sorts of stuff. I mean, I actually feel a bit. We've got some good friends that we all have that are Tottenham fans,
Mm.
and I feel sorry for them because they're stuck in just no man's land.
Mm.
Apparently, they've got to hold on to this manager because they might beat Eintracht Frankfurt in the next round to get through to Europa League. And they're saying, "Oh, if he wins, it'll save it." Okay, here's a scenario: you get relegated, but he wins the Europa League and you're in the Championship, but you're also in Europe next year. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think the bottom three are the bottom three.
Yeah.
West Ham are playing better since Potter got there. I can see them, just surviving, and that is funny. But Tottenham fans get beaten about enough. I don't think their own manager needs to be doing it to them.
No, you're right. You're right, mate. You're right. It's a sorry state of affairs, but that brings us on to the next one. With another sorry state of affairs, Man United. Now, I don't think anyone thought that Man United would go to Newcastle and win, right? Because Newcastle are in form. They've won. Yeah, they beat Liverpool in the final, and they deserve to win. It wasn't any kind of lucky kind of chances. They scored great goals, and they have all season scored great goals, right? And I think you sort of see in the match that Isak just, drives that defense wild, right? Even, and with his assists and stuff, it just, he's got that movement. He's that threat, so people want to mark him. But then he started to provide the assists now, which I think is just just elevates him even more. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to him in the summer? I think with Newcastle, don't need to sell him, but I think the likes of Arsenal, even Liverpool, were trying to get some sort of conversations going, right? And you don't blame anyone, even if Chelsea decide to go for it because they think, oh, stuff it, we need someone else. You can't blame them, right? He is a talent, I think, and credit to obviously Eddie Howe, right, for the team he's brought up there. And I think just looking at the news earlier, I think Eddie Howe recovering out of hospital now after having pneumonia apparently. So that was obviously a shame, but at least he's on the mend. But he is, I think, one of the real last quality England managers, right? That is there in the high kind of in the top leagues really, doing what he needs to do. And let's hope he can perhaps one day do the England job. But yeah, it was just Man United. Not much more to say about it. I think I always love watching Roy Keane, obviously, after when Man United play. And all he said, the one line quote is, they didn't do anything. And there you go, right? That's sort of is what they didn't do anything. And it's like they didn't know what they were doing, like coming or going. And again, you look at the lineup of the squad that they put out and the bench, and it's just apart from like lots of Fernandez and Ericsson, but Ericsson's past his sell by like bless him, obviously his issues over his heart and stuff, and it's just not the right place for him anymore. But it's a very young team, lack of experience, and it just doesn't work, right? The players that you used to associate with Man United, the top talent they had, they don't have that top talent anymore. They don't attract that top talent, and that's the issue, right? They haven't got that talent, and I think Amarin has a way of playing, and we all know he can do it, but there literally has to be a clear out massively in the summer for Man United to even consider doing anything next season. And again, don't think they're also in the same kind of position as Spurs, right? They're just above Spurs, right, by 1 point. So I think they might be mathematically what I think now. No, they might technically. I think if Ipswich won all their games, they could still take Man United, and they lost in them all. So mathematically, they could be relegated, but it won't happen. Obviously, I don't think. But mathematically, they're in that position. That's just unheard of, right? So yeah, just completely shocking. But fair play to Newcastle, right?
I think another thing that I think Keane mentioned about is Amarin and his team have come in and they've like this is how we want to play, right? It's you can't implement a way of playing until you. Well, he must have assessed the squad and everything like that, and then clearly he's thought, oh no, they can play how we played in Sporting with old players who don't have those legs in a much stronger league. And you just think, I understand you've got a way you want to play, all right, but he came in halfway through, which is never ideal for any manager. Some managers actually turned the job down because they were coming in halfway through. But Van Gaal has a better ratio than Amorim
Seriously, oh
does
my word.
since he got
Wow.
here. So I mean,
Yeah, me.
read the room, mate. They can't play how you're playing.
No.
Get back to basics, as like King talks about all the time. Running around, chasing the ball down, getting it back, being hard to beat. Just look at Everton, right? Since they got Moyes, different team, hard to beat. We'll talk about it in a minute, but beat Forest this weekend. They've got some really good
Yeah.
results. I'm not looking forward to us playing them because they'll probably
That's
nick one
hard,
as
man.
well.
Yeah.
So that's how you can do it in the Premier. That shows you experienced Premier League manager knows what you've got to do. Base, start at the back, keep a clean sheet, nick the odd goal. They've got some talented players, United, but
Yeah.
they clearly can't play that system. They
No.
have experience. They've got like Maguire was on the bench, and they're resting players for
For Leon
the
and
Europa League. You're resting players for the Europa League. No,
Unbelievable.
no, you're not doing that. And
yeah.
actually, even more hilarious, they brought in the Turkish keeper.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
They dropped Anana,
Yeah.
and then they put this other guy in, and I feel a little bit sorry for him. But
Of course.
don't make mistakes. He's come in, and they're just like, it's just so hilarious considering to what we all grew up with. We grew up with him having Peter Schmeichel.
Peter Schmeichel,
You
Edwin
couldn't
van der
stop.
Sar. I mean,
Honestly,
seriously,
what else? And David De Gea. And then I
David De
think someone was
Gea.
talking
Yeah.
about why would David De Gea come back? He's literally playing for Fiorentina at a better level of football, and you didn't want him. He was the
Yeah.
Golden Glove winner, and you let him go.
Yeah.
And then you signed that piece of rubbish for 50 million quid. I
Multiple
mean,
multiple player of the seasons for Man United as well, like consecutive
Yeah, he did
seasons,
when they were
player
having
of
a
the
bad
season,
season.
player of the
Yeah, yeah.
season, and
honestly,
Mm.
Manchester's like Alice. It's Amarim in Wonderland, isn't it? Because everything's a bit crazy and no one knows what's going on, and
I
they're
don't
all
know.
down a
Everyone
rabbit
knows.
hole.
Yeah, no one's
And
got a
it's just
Scooby Doo, have they?
utter
Literally.
madness. You look at well-run clubs, smaller, well-run clubs, and
Yeah.
I think that team and some of the players in there think they're bigger than what they are. That's the trouble. I
Oh,
think
for sure.
when they got the equaliser yesterday,
Yeah.
they celebrated like they got in the lead or they were
Yeah.
winning the game. And Garnacho, I think he typifies that. He's Charlie Big Potatoes. I'm the big
Yeah.
I am. Look at me. I'm the next big thing.
Yeah.
But they literally they are immensely. I think they're so far ahead of where they actually are, and
Yeah.
think that about themselves. And you think to yourself, having two calamity goalkeepers on your books, what do you do? Someone said today, bring Tom Heaton in. Play Tom
I would
Heaton.
have.
You know what I
I
mean?
would have,
It's
to
Get
be
just
Ben,
honest, instead of the Turkish one.
Ben
Yeah.
Foster out of retirement. That'd be
unbelievable.
so
It's
easy.
they are hilarious, and it's quite funny to watch, but it's also a little bit sad. We've said it before. I
Yeah.
remember the Titanic battles between Arsenal and United back in the day, and to see where they are now is
Yeah.
surreal, man. But they've again delusions of grandeur. I think a little bit at the moment, way ahead of
Just thinking
themselves.
seriously about a couple. They've got a couple of good players. If
Dallo's
I'm
been good. I
Fernandez,
think Dallo's been good.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Fernandez and I'm thinking about Dallo.
Mm.
What must you be thinking? Right, Fernandez is fair play, been there a long time. I think he could probably get a move somewhere that it'd be a lot. He could go to Spain or
Yeah.
Italy. He'd be able to. He's a decent player. People have a go at him and stuff, but he's a pretty decent player. And Diallo, I mean, he's a bit of a mug for signing that contract extension, or
Yeah.
they did it so they can sell him and make a wad, and it's all profit, and then they can
Yeah.
reinvest that. But why
He's
would you
quite
sell?
injury prone, though. He's quite injury prone.
Well, I think that's Kobe Mainu, who's another one that
Yeah.
they wanted to get rid of potentially. But if you've got good players, who's gonna want to go there? Like the only thing you can think of is that they need to transport the entire Sporting Lisbon team. But it's not a farmers league, but it's not the greatest league in the world. So they're going to perform. It's Gyökeres. I know other people are talking about looking at Gyökeres because obviously he's still a decent player, and actually Sporting are still doing pretty well without Amorim. So you just think the good players there, they're going to want to stay, or they're going to say, look, this is just an absolute trash heap.
Yeah.
And get me out
I
of
think
here.
they could be in.
But who's going to go?
Oh.
And if they are going to go, they're going to want massive wages to make up for the fact that they're joining a 15th, 16th place team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You'd rather go to Brentford.
Yeah, you're 100%. You want to go Brighton, mate. Newcastle, anywhere.
Solid, decent play. Newcastle probably going to be in the Champions League. Had won a cup. Decent manager, really good team. Let's help improve that squad. They just get so low down the pecking order. And to see the craziness, what do players want? They want it to be calm, consistent, not madness, so they can step into a team and affect a positive. massively. And that just it's
And that's the
just
thing, isn't
crazy
it?
how
Like
United are crazy.
the pressure, isn't it? Like, as well, you know that the team's underperforming, and no matter what you try and do, nothing works. You're playing what the manager wants, but nothing's working. Like, you know, regardless if you hate Man U or not, like it's demoralizing as a player, right? How mentally that psychological effect as well. You're like say you're 15th in the. I mean, come on, that's unheard of for I don't think they've ever fit. I can't remember last time they finished that low, right? I mean, and they're not going to finish any higher given how they're currently playing either. So it's kind of like it's truly shocking. I think. And I think this, as we said earlier, it boils back down to you have to go all the way to the top, right? And you look at the way the club's managed. When it gets this bad, it's not the manager now after the kind of, the Ferg era. It's the way the club's managed, it's how they go about the business. And it's like, oh yeah, let's put up a thing that we're now building a new stadium just to give the fans something to think about. The fans don't want a new stadium. They want you to win every cup available. If you had
Success on the pitch. Yeah.
exactly, if you had the worst stadium in the world, they wouldn't care as long as they can throw cups never on the team's face, right? And that's the thing, right? I just think the view of the world. I don't know if it's the obviously with Radcliffe coming in as well, but the whole view of it just is gone wrong. And I do worry about kind of what it means for the long term, to be honest, because as you said, without top class players, you become a middle table team. And that's why certain, teams stay in the mid-table of the Premier League because they can't obviously get anyone else in. So yeah, it's going to be a scary time, I think, for the summer transfer window. But let's see what happens. So yeah, all right. Finally, well, not finally then, but over to you, Brandon, which is less, I guess, exciting than obviously what happened in the midweek. But Arsenal Brentford game.
After the Lord Mayor's show, a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you've got to, if you put it into perspective, right? You think about what the team did midweek.
Yeah,
You think about what that took out of them
yeah,
mentally and physically, and then making the five changes, which I think
exactly.
Arteta had to do. I think
Yeah,
if he'd have started Saka in that game, or if he'd have started Odegaard in that game, I think you just can't do that. I think realistically, everyone knows that the Champions League is our only slim hope of anything now this season. You've got a good lead to take to Madrid, so you're going to
yeah,
take that to the next game. And unfortunately, that's the way it kind of went in the game against Brentford. I think Arsenal probably did enough to win the game to shade it
yeah,
potentially, but again, you're talking about that lack of cutting edge, that no clinical striker up front.
yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those where it's kind of after the main event, it was always going to be a bit of a dud, I think, and it turned out to be true. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think all eyes are on midweek this week, and hopefully we'll kick on from there. But the league's gone realistically, so
Yeah.
we got to just be steady and consistent now. Just try and keep that second position, and just see it through to the end of the season. Now I think
I
so.
think you've got, even with rotation, you've got that, I think, because ultimately, like you said, the Brentford game, I mean, one point which to touch on was obviously the tackle on Martinelli, right? Which, again, goes back to VR. Like, even if someone doesn't, mean malice by it, and we don't ever assume people do mean to have malice, right? But you go in like that, you don't win the ball, it's reckless, it's endangerment because if he traps his leg, it then snaps his tendons, whatever. Do you know what I mean? He's done. His career potentially could be over, right? As with happened, was it oh, what was that player? He got his ankle broken, the young guy for Arsenal.
Eduardo.
Eduardo, that's it, complete snap, wasn't it? And that was like,
Open fracture, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it was a bad challenge, right? And
yeah.
I don't think anybody in the world will say that Norgard went in to do him,
No,
but
exactly.
that doesn't matter. It's
Right.
about the challenge, and the
Yeah.
challenge is a high scissor challenge.
In the air. Yeah.
Martinelli's, not long come back from a bad knee
Yeah.
injury himself, right? So he could have been gone again if his foot was planted. I mean, that could have potentially been really nasty. But
Yeah.
again, we seem to talk about it, or I seem to talk about it every week. VAR, refereeing decisions
Yeah.
against Arsenal. If everyone was to realistically top them up throughout the whole season,
We
I think
might do that, I think.
everyone will be quite surprised about how many things have gone against
Yeah.
us. But it's just another one to add to the list. But
Yeah.
thankfully, Martinelli's not
Yeah.
injured. It should be all right for this week. So that's all
And
that
that
matters,
was,
really.
I think that was the bonus, right? Even when you did bring on the other players in the second half, which you got the first goal, obviously, at least everyone walked off uninjured, who you need for the Real Madrid game. And that's the big bonus, I think,
Yeah,
regardless. The league was always, in the balance, but you needed, like you said, I think last week, Brian, you needed kind of a miracle for Liverpool to lose. What is it, kind of, well, 3 games plus obviously Arsenal to win the game against Liverpool, which is possible. But I think UCL is your biggest chance. And the showing that he did obviously at home against Real Madrid. If you carry that form in, I mean, even I think PSG would be scared to be honest. And they obviously have played very well, but I think that's you got
I'd
to
be scared of PSG personally, but
go.
I think it's look, it's one of those things, and let's not forget Brentford are a good football team.
Yeah, they are
You know,
good.
Brentford are a good
Yeah.
football team. Thomas Frank has got those guys. You know
Mm,
that is a good Premier League team. They're
yeah.
established in the Premier League now. They're no mugs. So
No.
people that kind of go out thinking, "Oh, it's Arsenal. They've just beat Madrid. They're at home. They should turn Brentford over." I mean, I'm not of that school of thinking. It's just like
No.
Premier League games are tough, right? For the
Hmm.
most part, any team can beat any other team. That's the way
Yeah.
it goes. So we came away with a draw. We didn't lose.
Yeah.
We didn't lose any players to injury. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a win.
All good. All good. Anything to add, Wes? Or we covered it all?
Just a view on that tackle.
Yeah.
Malice, you can't judge malice,
No.
right? There's no way of VAR can't even judge malice. Semi-automated malice. We should have semi-automated malice challenges.
Yeah.
He knew
It's Sam, semi-automated malice. Bit of
It's a
Sam.
band. It's a band.
that he Norgard knows what he's doing. That wasn't an
Yeah.
accident how he tackled him,
No.
right?
No.
There are things where like you might slide in and or you get knocked and then you sort of might be off balance or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. But when you go in to tackle someone like that, and I'm not saying that I have, but
Mm,
like you know what you're doing. You know you're going to put your legs both round it so that he
yeah.
can't nip
Trips
through,
out.
like
Yeah.
step out of it. You are going to bring him down. Okay, that is on purpose. As Brandon said, your foot gets caught or something like that, or even at just a funny angle because that's often how it happens. Something's going to get Martinelli's going to get hurt, and Brandon said he's going to be sensitive about it. He's just come back from an injury. When you're a winger, you do get absolutely battered.
Yeah.
It's a red card.
Hmm.
I don't even really care if he got the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
how you're going in. You're leaping off the ground. As soon as you're leaping off the ground, it's a red card.
Yeah.
No one could argue that. And if they appealed it, it would get thrown out.
Mm,
So I just think football players have to think. I know it's a passionate game and it's a very quick game, but you know what you're doing when you do a challenge like that. There are sometimes mitigating circumstances, but when you do that and wrap your legs both around it, that's an unacceptable tackle. That's a red card. That's kind of the end of it. I don't think there's an argument.
no, I agree. Mic drop moment there. I think we're definitely gonna do a pod on VAR and refs because it has it's just the level, as we said, it keeps going down and down, right? But hey ho, let's hope some changes soon. Finally, then Liverpool, West Ham. Now, honestly, like I don't know what it is with Liverpool. I know they've been like the comeback kings, you see, in terms of we're going down in the first half, right? But they've also been the kings at scoring and then thinking they've won the game at 1-0. Like honestly, every match there's been something, about two matches, so every kind of month where they, oh yeah, we scored one, we'll just sit back. Same with this one, we're all over West Ham. Diaz scores, great goal, well worked. Salah with the outside of the boot, assist, lovely, celebrating his contract renewal. And then we just decide, okay, that's it then. Let's just pack up and go home. It's like we haven't won anything. I know you mentioned it last week, Brand, about some of the perhaps arrogance kind of creeping into certain players, and that is if Schlott's got to do one thing, he's done everything so well, it's slap that out of anyone who's like that, right? No one is bigger than the club, no one is bigger than their teammates, don't care whether you've been there longest or whatever, right? You need to play a game. And the goal that obviously, I think, that obviously was scored, it's an own goal, just a testament to that, right? The arrogance, right? The lack of communication, it's never going to happen. Van Dijk kicks it off Robertson. It's like, where's the communication, guys? And there's no one around you, anywhere near you. What's going on? And yeah, obviously after that, unfortunately, Van Dijk made up for it with a header and a great header, but he's lucky because we could have dropped another 2 points there, and West Ham could have potentially even scored more. So, I was grateful that he scored, but at the same time, I was like, just got to switch on a bit. It just seems there's still a lack of focus there, which if the Fulham game didn't wake them up, I'm just like, and even Slot said it, to be honest, like it's not done, it's not won. We need to stay focused for every game, and hopefully, he's going to drum that in a bit. But yeah, it's a good game in the end. But once that went in, I was like, goodness me, come on, guys, like just don't allow teams to come back on you, right? Kill the game off. That's what you need to do. Kill the game off. Which I think, if we can learn from anything, that was kind of like when Man City in the last few years have been at their prime. That's what they did, right? As soon as they got the foot in, they killed the game off. And Liverpool have never been quite good at killing the game off. We just never seem to have that edge. We score and then don't want to keep pushing and pushing. So yeah, that was kind of annoying. But at least we won it. obviously 13 points clear now, so hopefully the job's done for us, but still need to stay sharp. It's never over till it's mathematically over, right? Over the
Well, yeah,
so
well, West Ham hit the bar twice, didn't they? I mean,
yeah,
they
we
weren't
did.
far off
Yeah,
from scoring a couple of goals, and they've got some players that can hurt you.
yeah, yeah,
And I think you're absolutely right, Toby. I mean, I think they've got what 6 games left now,
yeah. Six
I
game, yeah,
think,
yeah.
and they're not easy game. You could say that Leicester
Leicester is next
probably
weekend. Leicester's
is an
meeting.
easy game. Tottenham is probably
Oh,
an
I'm worried
easy
about that
game.
one. I'm really worried, to be honest.
I mean, to be honest, Chelsea's probably going to be an easy game. I know you're away, and we might turn up.
Yeah,
Uh, I still think you're going to win it. I just think
Yeah.
even with you re-signing, and I'm going to say that I probably was wrong about having all three leave. I think it is probably going to be Trent, although
yeah.
Virgil still hasn't, and I don't understand why. Um, it won't be the same next year. I
No,
just don't think it will. I think he's going to have to do some stuff. He's going to have to get rid of some people, and they're going to be changes.
yeah.
It's interesting looking at who might leave and stuff like that.
Mm.
You've got to say Nunes will probably be on their way
Oh,
out.
please let him go.
Jota's very injury prone.
Yeah,
You know, you do need a main striker that can bang you in. Salah is a winger. He's not a striker.
he's not a striker
But
yet.
again, having a striker would possibly be a fantastic boost for him. Take the pressure off him. Obviously, someone else to distract.
Yeah,
And he scores loads of goals and assists anyway, without a main striker that you guys can rely on. So
mm.
it'll be different next year. Everyone's going to rearm, but I think you just got to get it over the line now, haven't you? As you said, if Fulham wasn't a wake up, it should have been.
It should have.
Um,
Yeah,
it ain't over, and you had a terrible sort of March, and you just got to get it over. I
yeah.
don't think it's going to be close. I just can't see you losing 3 of those games.
No, no, I don't think we'll lose
It's
three
not
of them. I
possible.
think
It's
no,
not.
no,
It's not over, but I think I can see Liverpool dropping further points
Oh
between now
yeah,
and the end of
I
the
think
season,
so.
but not
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
for an Arsenal have then got to be perfect as well, and I can't see that. I
No.
can't see that happening again. That was evidenced in the game against Brentford at the weekend. But do you think? I think all the other teams in the league, and as much as people can berate Arsenal for not challenging well enough this season, what about all the other teams then? If Arsenal are the closest to them,
Mm.
and we've been absolutely dire, what can you say about every other team that's then underneath Arsenal? It's
Mm.
every other team has got to buck their ideas up to kind of get back in the
Yeah,
mix again next year. And I think you're right. I think every team will recruit heavy. I think Arsenal will recruit heavy. I think Chelsea we've got to do some business and get some stuff done. And like you said, ideally that would be maybe at the back and maybe something in the midfield possibly. But every team has got to buck their ideas up, and my team included. Arsenal have got to make sure they are at least closer to the top than what they have been this year. But what do you think, Toes, about these contract situations? Do you think it's a good idea getting these announcements done before the season's wrapped up? I think, especially with Virgil van Dijk, I think
yeah,
he's almost making it a bit of a sideshow now. You saw him in the interview after the game the other day, and I
yeah,
just thought he was absolutely lapping it up. He was loving it, the little coy answers and the little sneaky looks
yeah.
here. And I think is it not becoming a bit of a sideshow for your team now, and possibly a bit of a distraction before the end of the season? It's here.
Yeah, that's what I said right before, and it's kind of like it's like a two-edged sword, right? It's a distraction with all the speculation because it's not done, but then it's like once then Salah signs it, and then it's like, oh, okay, so why wasn't that just done beforehand? Um, I don't know, mate, to be honest. I think I guess I never saw Salah or VVD leaving partly because of their age, right? In terms of, the really realistically options, what VVD's 33. So, realistically, what probably Saudi Pro League's and get the most money, but that's not competitive. He still wants to be competitive, maybe kind of, Spanish league or something. But I never saw them to go in. But I don't understand why it took so long to get it to that point. And I think it did unsettle them. I think it can be partly to blame for the blip we've had as well, because obviously, I think there was an interview with Salah last December where he was asked the question about the contract, and he said he hadn't been approached by the club, and they said, "Are you
He's more
disappointed?"
out than in, didn't he? He said
Yeah,
as
and he
well.
said obviously like he was very disappointed by that because that's what he wanted. So it was obviously clearly always in FS, G's group, Fenway Sports Group. So yeah, I think contracts always just cause a bit of havoc, to be honest, mate. And I think Van Dijk is, you know, I like him, but I think you're right. He needs to tone it down a bit.
So arrogant, man.
No.
So
And
arrogant.
he wasn't like that. It seems to be in the last couple of seasons, which I don't quite get because we haven't gone and won anything major in the last couple of
Mm.
seasons. I know we've won everything once in his time with Klopp and stuff, but it's not like we've been Man City and won four on the bounce, for instance. Do you know what I mean? And Van Dijk, can be, and I think again it's because of the arrogance, can make a complete mess sometimes, as we saw in the West Ham thing, right? It's just I think it has unsettled the team a bit, and I would, if he is going to sign, just get it done. Stop letting him play around, but just say it's done. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what's the purpose. I don't think it makes a difference because also that's how to attract more signings. I think one of the rumors was that one of the conditions for Salah signing again was also that they would recruit X many kind of players to come in, like world class signings that he wants in certain positions. No, not names, but he needs someone to probably a striker, another kind of attacking midfielder, etc. So yeah, I just think if you sign the players who are the kind of backbone of the team, then you're probably going to attract more people as well. So yeah, it's one of those ones. It just gets annoying to be honest. I mean, even the Salah one, like yeah, the announcement was cool, but I just like if you knew it was going to happen, just get it over the line, right? Just stop messing around with it. Like the fans want to know if he wants to stay, just get it done. So yeah, I mean, Salah's not as arrogant as VVD in that sense, though. The way he
No,
is,
no, no.
he's more humble, obviously. But yeah, it's just it has been incredibly annoying and frustrating. At least we know Salah's staying. I mean, I wouldn't be as upset if VVD did leave. I think he's kind of in certain ways seen his time and had his time, but he's still good when he wants to do the real job and not be arrogant and play the game of football properly. He is world class in that position for Liverpool.
Mm.
So there's that going for him. But yeah, we'll see. I think yeah, big change at Liverpool this season. Lots of people need to get out the door and reshake it up. And I think it'll be an extremely exciting season next one for all teams, right? Because I think like we said before about the game style and the way people play, I think that's going to completely change because like Man City had to adapt because they've been found out. Liverpool a little bit, Arsenal's gonna have a good balance of when they kind of do the tick attacker versus going long and all this kind of stuff. So I think we're going to see some quite exciting stuff. So yeah,
Here's hoping.
it is going to be good. Right, well, on that bombshell, thank you very much, guys. It's been a blast as always. I will see you in pro clubs.
Layers.
Alvaro Pereira hit by James! Oh, what a goal! One of the greats! My word, this boy's a star! 369, damn,